people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
You see, once I was blind.
Yes,
I was in ignorance. But now I can see that the names that I've been called by the system most of my life, they meant nothing good to me.
They meant nothing good, and they weren't good for me.
Oh no. For a good name, says the wise man Solomon.
A good name, a good word is to be desired.
It's worth much more than silver or gold. So please don't you call me black.
Don't you call me black or Negro
anymore. For now I know for sure.
Thanks to the spirits of my ancestors,
what the power of words, sound vibrations can do. So please don't you call me.
I know what the mystical power of words, sound vibration can do.
Anymore.
Don't you call me black or Negro.
That's why
or any of your synonyms or euphemisms.
I gave back the curse.
Not anymore.
I gave back the curse.
I gave back the curse.
Satan, you know that I'm not black.
Of course you do. You know I'm not black, Satan.
No, your bad words, they can't bind me.
No, they can't bind or subdue me.
They can't hold our spirit down. Oh no, not anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yes, I gave back the curse.
I gave back the curse, Satan.
Oh, take back your curse.
Take it back. Take it back, Satan.
Cause I refuse to be put down
I gave back the curse.
Oh, take back your curse, Satan.
Cause I refuse to be put down or subjected to your insults and your humiliations anymore. My people, you must seek and know the truth. For only the truth will set you free from the devil's conspiracies. And let me tell you again, black or Negro are not good names.
You call yourself the names that are superior, then gave me those that are inferior.
How audacious of you,
devil. You thought that in a million lifetimes that I would have never come to the knowledge of this truth.
Oh yes, you did, devil.
Oh yes, you did. But what you have hidden from my ancestors in your language
hidden
now,
coded in your language,
are now being revealed to the youths. And from this day forward, you shall never fool them all.
No, you can't fool all our youths again. Not at all.
Oh no, you can't. For now they know for sure
the spirit of our ancestors
that if they don't say what they mean, they can never be great or do what they
never do what they truly intend.
That's why I sing this song.
Yes, that's why I
write back the
sing this song.
Oh, I gave back your curse. Satan, you know I'm not blind. No, your bad words, they can't bind me.
You know the truth.
They can't hold my spirit down. Oh no, not anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yes, take back your curse.
Take back your curse, Satan.
I gave back your curse.
I gave back your curse, Satan.
Cause I refuse to be blacklisted anymore.
To be black carded.
Don't take back your curse
or any word anymore.
You know I'm not black.
Yes, Satan, you know.
And you are not white.
You are not white. My people, it's a race again, and you must change your name in
my skin.
Yes. The carbon, the melanin in my skin.
It's not a curse, but it's my blessing. It's the natural beauty seen in colors, flowers, scale of fishes.
Oh, how natural and beautiful,
feathers.
mystic and majestic to behold. Melanin in my skin.
It keeps me safe from UV rays and the sunlight.
It keeps me safe.
Absorb solar energy, it gives me warmth at night.
It's a
gift from the source, my all-wise Mother Nature. Oh yeah. And for your information, devil, let me tell you. My skin complexion is not who or what I am. So take back your curse, Satan.
Of course you do.
You know I'm not black. Yes. And nothing about you is white.
Yes, that's why I write this song.
Help me sing along
that someday all my people they join me.
Yes.
And sing along.
I gave back
as they gave you back.
Yes, Satan.
As they
you know I'm not black.
Yes, Satan.
Of course you do. No,
your bad words,
they can't bind me.
They can't
hold my spirit down.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yes, I gave back your curse. Oh,
they can't hold my spirit down.
Cause I refuse to be black male anymore.
To be black born, to be black out, to be black N-word or anything anymore.
You know I'm not black, and you are not white.
Oh yes. Take back your curse, Satan.
Give back your curse, Satan.
You know I'm not black.
You know I'm not black. And nothing about you is white.
Thank you for that, my brother, Mystic Philosopher. This morning is going to be a part 2 of the very powerful teaching, the redemption from the curse of the black spell. And all I can say is that when this brother lights you up with some knowledge, your head's going to be righteously dizzy for the rest of the day. It's like that meal that you just love that you're eating down at the 5-star restaurant, but it defeats you, and you have to walk out with a doggy bag. And every time you get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, you do a beeline to that fridge to take a bite. Very, very heavy stuff. I'm not going to waste any time talking anymore. I just want to welcome my brother, the Mystic Philosopher, and I'm going to have him just start, and I'm going to sit down and grab my pen and my paper and take notes. Welcome, my brother, the Mystic Philosopher.
Thank you, my brother Kojo, for such kind words and introduction. Ashe is the word, the source of I and I, ancestors. Ashe is a source that holds all things together. Ashe is I source, I shield and I protector. Ashe is I source, I guide and I provider. Ashe is I source, and that is why I'm not black. Ashe is I source, and I cannot be lack. Ashe is I source, I light and I deliverer. Ashe is I source, I healer and I teacher. Ashe is I source, I leader and I spiritual fire. Ashe is I source, I strength each day, I be more and more. Ashe is I source, I spiritual comforter. Each day I be more stronger. Ashe is I source, I sustainer. Each day my life is filled with more pleasure. Ashe walk with I daily to much green and greener pastures. Ashe walk with I beside some very cold and dangerous waters. Ashe walk I through the valley of blackness and under the shadow of the blackness. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe I say to you all, my fellow, highly enriched in melanin and highly enriched carbon skin brothers and sisters the world over, and goodwill and more to all those that may give of their time and listen to this show. First, and on behalf of my most honorable African ancestors, please let me begin by again expressing my deepest gratitude to you, my brother Kojo, for inviting me forward to speak and share with you and your very studious and sagacious audience, I might add, some more of my very thought-provoking perspectives, also known as my truth, from this, your global platform, the one and only LanceScurv Show. And thanks very much to you all, the LanceScurv Show audience, listeners, and commentators for finding my thought-provoking perspectives interesting enough and possible informative enough to have me forward again. But above all, I thank you for finding them worthy of your time and your attentive listening ear. I always like to remind myself and my audience, however many people they may be. In fact, sometimes my audience is only one, my wife, or more correctly, my partner. But the fact is that I do like to remind my audience, people in general, of the fact that the most valuable thing in this thing called life, and the only thing that cannot be bought, and nor can it be sold, it cannot be sowed, planted, or invested in order to yield more of its own kind for its owner or its investor. The thing that is the most limited, yet the only thing by which we may accomplish and be fulfilled the most. The thing that so many of us humans take for granted. And even though every moment it diminishes in length, its value remains priceless, even to the end. And it can only be given away, or some might say it can only be taken away, also known as being robbed. But once it is given or taken away, it can never be returned. And it is the thing called our time. Our life is our precious time, if you will. And I'm saying all this just to let you know that I truly appreciate you all for thoughtfully and purposefully giving of your limited amount of time to listen to I, the Mystic Philosopher, on this, the LanceScurv Show. And to encourage you all to please continue to appreciate and full joy every moment of your allotted time. And especially, and if possible, full joy your precious time with the people that are truly worthy of it. The people who earned it, and especially your spouses, your loved ones, your brethren, and your fellow seekers of truth. You name them. For today is a gift. It's called the present, but tomorrow is only a promise. So enough love, enough respect, and big up yourself, my brother Kojo, and be more and more and much more. Secondly, before I get into
the topic of this discourse, namely redemption from the curse of the Belak spell, part 2, and my prepared notes for this show, as customary, I would like to make a public disclaimer that the views, thoughts, opinions, and thought-provoking perspectives, my truths, if you will, that I'm about to share with you all listeners, well-wishers, trolls, and enemies of my people, are not necessarily those of the host, my brother Kojo, or those of the LanceScurv Show in general, but that they are of the spirits and souls of my most honorable African ancestors, and particularly the spirits and souls of my most honorable African ancestors that were and are the direct, up-close and personal victims of the Black Caucasian malevolent kidnapping and transatlantic slave trade. And especially the wandering spirits and souls of those my most honorable African ancestors that took the latent, bestial, and sadistic instinct, pleasure, and delight of the Black Caucasians were captured, yoked, chained, shackled, packed in the Christian missionaries' merchant ships, and some, while chained and shackled, were mercilessly thrown alive overboard the Christian missionaries' merchant ships and fed to sharks in some of the world's most vicious and shark-infested water, whereby they were helplessly, defenselessly, torturously, and viciously, ferociously torn to pieces while being eaten alive by sharks, and have their spirits and their souls violently forced, violently snuffed from their bodies. And for over 400 years, they have been restlessly roaming, restlessly wandering the oceans, the seas, and the waters, waiting for us, the seeds of those, their African brothers and sisters that survive the heinous journey and make it alive to the shores of the strange, evil, unjust, abominable, and unknown world of their devious captors, conquerors, barbaric thieves, sexual predators, sexual deviants, slave traders and slave masters and slave mistresses, their heirs and successors. For over 400 years, they have been restlessly roaming and wandering the seas, waiting for us, the offspring and ascendants of their African brothers and sisters that endured and survived the horrors of chattel slavery and preserved their African and melanin genes, preserved their African and melanin seeds, so that today we will set the record straight, so that today we will get it right and call upon them, invoke them, honor them, pour liberation for them, and to them proclaim their names and declare them, so that here and now in this physical realm and there in the spirit realm, we will together inflict true spiritual and retributive justice on the evils. For how can I forget? How can we, my brothers and sisters, forget? Why must we forget? How must we forget? And how can we humanly, consciously, honestly, sensibly, and spiritually forgive the evils and the atrocities, the extremely wicked, cruel acts that have been brought upon us, our people, by the evils? It is their spirits and souls, the spirits and souls of these my honorable African ancestors that I invoke, that I call upon, and whose spirit at this time are being channeled through I, the Mystic Philosopher. So here again, in the event that any of you listeners, well-wishers, trolls, and enemies of my people may hear something some possible new and so-called controversial ideas that may offend you, that may upset you, that may disturb you, or some thoughts that may disrupt or conflict with some of your most long and affectionately held beliefs. I humbly ask that you hold them, my honorable African ancestors, and I, the mystic philosopher and messenger, fully responsible, and not this, the LanceScurv Show, or my brother Kojo, who has been more than courageous, more than generous, and open-minded enough to allow me this opportunity to speak here. Again, and according to the late Robert Nesta Marley, in one of his songs titled Trenchtown Rock, and I quote, "One good thing about music is that when it hits you, you feel no pain," unquote. However, I must regretfully inform you that what I'm about to say in this part 2 of my presentation, the redemption from the curse of the Belak spell, part 2, 11 crucial questions answered, will definitely not sound like music at all to some of you ears. And it is also guaranteed to make some of you feel some pain. It is guaranteed to make some of you, especially trolls of this, the LanceScurv Show, and our enemies mentally, physically, and spiritually uncomfortable, to say the least. But Marley also said, and I quote, "The truth is an offense, but not a sin," unquote. From my perspective, if we can all agree that this statement is also true, then if any of you listeners, enemies of my people, enemies of my African people, and trolls of this, the LanceScurv Show, if any of you are in any wise offended by what I will say, then logically you must also agree that it is not because of I, the mystic philosopher, the messenger of my most honorable ancestors, the source of my message, but it is because of the truth. Meaning, it is because it is the truth. So for only the truth could, only the truth can, and only the truth will offend you, upset and disturb you. And by extension, only the truth can offend us all. And it has been written and said of old, "For the word of truth is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, between joints and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires," unquote. Thirdly, let me briefly reintroduce who I am and tell you a little bit more about myself. I am the Mystic Philosopher, aka Dr. David G. Jones, an inspirational speaker, metaphysician, spiritual counselor, philosopher, free thinker, truth seeker, musician, poet, singer, songwriter, internet blogger, YouTuber, a happiness coach. I am more, and I am becoming much, much more. 3 of my most favorite quotes that truly summed up my basic life's philosophy and practice are, and I quote, 1, seek the company, or to seek and keep the company of those who seek the truth, but run away from those who have found it, unquote. Václav Havel, a former president of the Czech Republic. In other words, I, the mystic philosopher, always try my very best, and in as much as it may be humanly possible, to avoid people who are claiming to have found the truth. People who are claiming to have the truth. Those who are claiming to know the truth. You name them. And especially all those that are wrapped up, tied up, and mentally messed up and tangled up in the systems Jesus and the systems religions and all religions and belief systems for that matter. From my own personal experiences with these people, most of whom are my own melaninated people, my own African people, they have permanently suspended their inherent faculty for reason. And the evidence has also shown and proved that they have all suspended their ability to reason and are by faith existing only on the step of belief. They have become permanent citizens on the step or on the level of belief. They have been deceptively stuck on the step of belief, not realizing that in order to get to the zenith of our becoming on this plane, namely the dome of the wise, aka the wise dome, wisdom, we must progress to the second step or to the second level called knowledge, and then to the third step or the third level called understanding, and overstanding, and finally to the fourth step called the dome of the wise dome, wisdom. My second quote, and I quote, "Speak your truth quietly and clearly and listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story," unquote. Max Ehrmann, author of The Desiderata. And third, life as we think we know it is all about asking questions. And the questions life asks provide the answers that only ask more questions in the everlasting quest for knowledge of truth. Unquote. Yours truly. As stated and implied in my earlier presentation on this show, that my aim and goals are to examine, to explain, to show and prove to all my people, or more correctly, to show and prove to most of my melanin people, my viewers and listeners alike, that we, the natural native earthly humans, we, the Earth's organic humans, we humans that are identifiable by our highly enriched carbon skin or our highly enriched melanin skin complexion, aka Africans, we the people that are the pre-Adamic humans, we the people that are deceptively, erroneously, maliciously, deliberately, disparagingly, and sorcerously called, named, labeled, listed, carded, and profiled black. The black people are the direct victims of the curse of the black spell, a curse that has been cast and placed on us by our formidable enemies, our formidable adversaries, the alien invaders and conquerors that are originally from the Caucasus Mountains in Caucasia. So in this presentation, I will be simply answering 11 crucial questions, most of which I had received from some of you listeners via email. So let me begin with question number 1. Is black a color? The answer is no. Black is not a color. In fact, a quick search will both tell you and prove to you straight up that black is not a color. Just a quick Google search. Simply put, or from a lay person's perspective, black is what you see. For instance, when you look out deep into space, or black is what you see when you are looking at any black object. But the fact is that it is not a color, but it is the lack of colors. As I have meticulously explained before, over and over in my previous presentations, or presentation on this show, that the word black is a curse word. The curse of the B-lack spell. That when it is cast, it commands the universe to cause those upon whom it is cast, or whatever is named by it, to be lack, to not have, to suffer deficiency, to be without, etc., etc. Now please open any dictionary, any English dictionary right here online and look up the word black. And I can almost guarantee you that the first thing it will tell you is that the word black is an adjective and definitely not a verb, let alone an action verb. The second thing I can almost guarantee that it will tell you is that black is the opposite of white. And the third thing I can almost guarantee that it will tell you is that black is without light. And I am sure that most of you will agree with me that without is the same as lack. And in this case, without meaning it lacks light. Now, without me getting into teaching subjects that are subjects that are not necessarily my area of experts, but from basic activated common sense coupled with our practical life experiences, we know without physical light, we humans cannot see physical things and optimally experience the physical world. For example, if you are physically blind, it is said that you are physically disabled or that you are suffering a physical handicap. And according to science, of our knowledge of 83% of our knowledge of the world we live in is the result of our physical sense of sight. 83% of our knowledge of the world we live in is the result of our physical sense of sight. And that is why when people curse you, or when people curse us and call us black, dark, or Negro, or any of its synonyms and euphemisms, I might add, what they are doing is they are literally saying that we are dumb and stupid, because they are either showing us something or there is obviously something before us that we should be seeing and knowing. Therefore, we got to be blind not to see or not to understand it. And for your information, the word black is also used figuratively to imply that we are spiritually blind and lack of understanding. Now, what is light? Black is without light. What is light? Now, this question is more of an academic question. And some of you will find this, my attempt at answering this question, a bit boring. Moreover, there are some very young and bright scholars that are tuning into and listening to this show that are far better able to simplify and answer this question far better than this senior, this old foot, this senior fellow can or will ever be able to do. And I ask that if they would do the honor or do us the honor and offer their service to the people that listen, that would want to get a better understanding, overstanding, and understanding of this phenomena called darkness and light, that you please contact our beloved brother Kojo. And I will take the liberty and say that he will be more than happy to accommodate you and your knowledge on this topic. In the meantime and between time, please let me prelude that eventuality by offering my understanding and explanation to the question, what is light? Simply put, light is frequency vibrations. Now, what is frequency? Frequency is simply how fast or how often something happens. As an example, how fast and how often something shakes. Example, the shaking or the back and forth rocking of an earthquake. Another way of describing frequency is how fast or how often something goes from its starting point, 0, up to the highest point, also known as its maximum point, and back to 0, and continue downward to its lowest point, also known as its minimum point, and back up to 0 again, completing what is known as one cycle. And the unit of expression for frequency is hertz, or cycle per second. Now, the starting point from 0 to its destination is known as the period. Period as in the length of time, or the length of time it takes Usain Bolt to run a 100-meter race. The starting line to the finishing line. So here we know that length, also known as the distance that he has to run, is 100 meters. A wave can be described as Usain Bolt having to run to the finish line, turn around and run back to the starting line, or run back to where he started. And another name for a wave is a cycle. A complete cycle is made up of 2 half cycles. The first half of the cycle is when he ran to the finish line, and the second half of the cycle is when he turns around and ran back to the starting line. So if Usain Bolt were able to run to the finish line and back to the starting line in 1 second, then we would say that he complete 1 cycle per second, or 1 cycle in a second. If he is able to improve his ability and now run back and forth 10 times in the same period of a second, then we would say that he completed 10 cycles per second, or 10 cycles in 1 second. Now, visible light, meaning light that is visible to us humans, vibrate at a frequency of 400 billion cycles per second. Between 400 billion cycles per second, that is 400 backed up by 9 zeros behind it, and 75 trillion cycles per second, which is 75 and 12 zeros behind it. And when this signal bounces off an object, our eyes sense it, or our eyes pick it up. And to cut a long story short, it, meaning the signal, is processed in our brain, and we see it, or we see what we think we see. In other words, just like when a cell phone tower sends out or transmits a signal, and it bounces off a satellite, and our cell phone pick it up, and the rest is history. So when the sun sends out or radiates a signal, and it bounces off something or off someone, our eyes detect it and pick it up, and our brains process it. Only then can we claim that we see what we think we see. So far I told you what light is. I told you that light is frequency vibrations. 2, then I explained what frequency is, that it is cycles per second. 3, then I told you what a cycle is, that it is to run a distance back and forth. Also, for simplicity, I told you that a cycle is another word for a wave. 4, I told you what period is, that it is the distance between a cycle or a wave completes per second. So now, hopefully, you know
or at the very least, now you get a little more understanding of what light is, and that black is the absence of light. Some of you might be asking the question, why all this long, tedious explanation about light? Don't I see it every day? Well, the answer is that it is to help explain to you what color is and why black is not a color. Now, unlike others, I cannot say that black is not a color without telling you what color is. So here is question 2. What is a color? Or what is meant by the English word color? Color, by meaning and definition, is a sensation experienced usually as a result of light.
My brother, you're blacking out a little bit. It's blanking out a little bit. I don't know if it's a Bluetooth connection or the cell phone, but it's definitely blanking a little bit.
Okay, how is it now?
Yes, it's good now. We lost about maybe 40 seconds or 30 seconds of you, so I just want to let you know that, brother.
Okay.
It's all good.
Thanks, no problem.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So should I back up?
Yeah, you're good right now.
Okay. So now hopefully you know, or at the very least, now you get a little more understanding of what light is, and that black is the absence of light. Some of you might be asking the question, why all this long, tedious explanation about light? Don't I see it every day? Well, my answer is that it is to help explain to you what color is and why black is not a color. And as I said, there are younger people out there, I have been out of school for years now, that can come and give a much better explanation, so that if you don't get it here, you will get it from them. Now, unlike others, I cannot say that black is not a color without telling you what color is. So here is the question. What is a color? Or what is meant by the English word color? Color, by meaning and definition, is a sensation experienced usually as a result of light or varying wavelength reaching the eye. And from a scientific perspective, color is simply the range of visible light that humans can see. According to the Illustrated Dictionary of Electronics, color is also defined as, and I quote, the characteristic that arises from the wavelength or from the frequency of light and is seen by the eyes as various phenomena ranging from red at one end of the visible spectrum to violet at the other end, unquote. So from this, we may logically deduce that red is the lowest frequency and violet the highest frequency as it relates to our human ability to see or direct light frequencies. And the higher the frequency, the higher the energy. And the lower the frequency, the lower the energy. Now, most people know, or at the very least, most people should know that frequency vibration, also known as energy vibration, is the evidence of that which is called life. Sorry. So if there is no energy vibration, if there is no pulse, we know that is the sign of death, or that is the thing, or that the thing or the person is dead.
For your information, black has no energy. Black has no frequency vibrations or vibration. Black has no color. And thus, anything black or anything that is labeled black or the sign or symbol black is rendered dead, useless, and good for nothing. And that is why the system and even some of our own politicians, if not all of them, don't give a rat's ass about you or about us that are called, named, and labeled black, or about us all that they labeled black. Because they say, you done dead already. So what's the use? Why try to resurrect a dead horse? Why try to raise the dead when we can work with the living? Third question is white a color? And the answer is simply no. White is not a color. Or maybe it is not, or maybe it is not that simple to understand. So please let me explain a bit further. That may not be simple enough for you to understand. So please let me explain it a bit more. And please remember that there are others that can explain this much better than I. And I look forward to hear a youth or somebody else clarify these misunderstandings of black, color, light, and white for some of you. I have already defined for you what is color and that black is not a color, and also explain why it is not a color. Sunlight, also known as white light, is defined as the composite or as the container of all the colors in the visible spectrum. If you truly and practically would like to know what the visible colors are, then simply pass white light through a prism and observe it. These three things are the three phenomena for sure that you won't be seeing coming out of a prism are white, black, and pink. However, you will see the 7 colors, namely violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. The Encyclopedia Britannica, and I quote, colors like white and pink are not present in the spectrum because they are the result of our eyes mixing wavelengths of light. White is what we see when all wavelengths of light are reflected off an object, while pink is a mix of red and violet wavelengths. So this leads to question 4. What is a spectrum? Or what is meant by the word spectrum? A Google search dictionary, spectrum is a band of colors as seen in a rainbow, produced by separation of the components of light by different degrees of refraction according to wavelength. The online etymology dictionary defined the word spectrum as, and I quote, the visible band showing the successive colors formed from a beam of light passed through a prism, unquote. Another fact that I would like for you to understand is that not just because you will see black, white, and pink markers in a crayon or a coloring box means that they are colors. With some basic knowledge of physics and how the physical world around us works, then we may understand clearly why black, white, and pink
are not colors. Regrettably, there are some people that believe that they can know, understand, and explain deep spiritual and mystical and metaphysical things without having to know or understand the basic truths about the physical world in which they are living in, without having to know basic truths about the tangible world around and about us. And these are some of the same people who will attack and condemn scientists, because some scientists may say that they don't believe in their religion or in their religious God, and as a result, they, meaning the scientists, are trying to find the answers for fulfilling their own lives by studying the world in which they live. So I think until a younger and greater and more learned mind or on this subject comes and further illuminate us all, further break it down and explain it to us, I think that I have done my best to try and answer for you the following 6 questions. Is black a color? 1. What is light? 2. 3. What is frequency? 4. What is color? And 5. Is white a color? And 6. What is spectrum? Now this leads to question number 7. Why is it not wise, spiritually or otherwise, to call yourselves the global Be More family, and to use the word be more if all of you do not fully understand and overstand the meaning and spiritual significance of the spell word black, aka be-lack, and the lessons to be learned from the redemption from the curse of the be-lack spell, part 1. And if you are not prepared to totally get rid of and totally disassociate yourselves with the word and name black, also known as be-lack, and all of its synonyms and euphemisms, I might add. And the answer is this. This is how my honorable ancestors inspire me to answer this question. And if it resonates with you and make logical sense to you, then it is for you, and you should seriously think about it. If on the other hand, or if it's contrary to that, then please just dismiss it. It's not for you. They said, yes, it is okay for you to call yourselves Be More, and to use the word be more, personally and even collectively as a group. And of course, you will be more, and even you will become much, much more. Because as I have already explained or mentioned and explained in my earlier presentation, titled The Redemption from the Curse of the be-lack spell, that whatever you or whatever we say or do, the universe will multiply it a minimum of 10-fold to us or to you. That the universe, also known as Mother Nature, is like a fertile ground, and whatever we plant in it, it grows and gives back to us in multiples of 10. Therefore, when we say be more, which you may also vividly recall that I explained to you that be more is an alternative word for the word be less, aka bless. You can confirm that in my previous presentation. So when we say be more, the universe will, and please again note, not that the universe may, but that the universe will multiply or will amplify our current state of existence, also known as our condition, our current condition, a minimum of 10 times, and return it to us. And that we will reap what we sow. and that is a given. However, as long as you continue to call yourselves black, answer to the name black, associate yourself with the word black, and identify yourself with the name, the title, the label, the word, the spell word, the spell black, and as long as you continue to grant permission for others to call you black, etc., etc., then all that will happen is that you will become more lack. Not that you may become more lack, but that you will become more lack, also known as more black. That you will manifest more and more and much more lack in your lives. And if you are in doubt as to whether or not this is true, then they ask that you just take an inventory of your own life today and compare it with your life 1 year from now, 12 months from now. They are asking that you please do not allow the spirit of deception, the spirit of confusion, the spirit of selfishness, the spirit of ignorance, also known as the spirit of black and blackness, that is bent on keeping us all in lack, also known as black, to overpower and conquer us. And there is nothing that our ancestors can do to save us or to save you if you are not prepared to do for yourself and to make the first move by changing the name and changing the game. Now, this is just a quick insert. Just some more food for thought that I am inspired to drop here, even though I had not the time to search and research the subject. But I think that I have enough information from which you may get the point. What happened? The question is to you, my people. What happened to all the companies that were named black in history? Think about that for a moment. What has happened to all the companies that were named black in history? To the best of my knowledge, none of them has withstood the test of time. None of them have survived. The question that I will ask you to ask yourself is this: could the reason be the result of the curse word black, also known as the black spell? Just some food for thought. Examples of companies in history. Number one, and possible this is the most famous company. It is called the Black Star Line. Most of you may have heard of the Black Star Line. Let me give you a quote. According to Wikipedia, the Black Star Line between 1919 to 1922 was a shipping line incorporated by Marcus Garvey, the organizer of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, and other members of the UNIA. The shipping line was created to facilitate the transportation of goods and eventually African Americans throughout the African global economy. It derived its name from the White Star Line. The Black Star Line, Marcus Garvey took got the inspiration to call his after the White Star Line. A line whose success Marcus Garvey felt he could duplicate. Black can duplicate white. Black Star Line became a key part of Garvey's contribution to the Black to Africa, or rather to the Back to Africa movement. It was one among many businesses which the UNIA originated, such as the Universal Printing House, the Negro Factories Corporation, and the widely distributed and highly successful Negro World Weekly newspaper. So, what was the White Star Line? According to the said Wikipedia, the Oceanic Steam Navigation Company, more commonly known as the White Star Line, WSL, was a British shipping company founded out of the remains of a defunct packet company. It gradually rose up as one of the most prominent shipping lines in the world, providing passengers and cargo services between the British Empire and the United States. To cut a long story short, what do you think happened to the White Star Line? Well, just for your information, according to this Wikipedia article, and again I quote, despite its casualties, the company retained a prominent hold on shipping markets around the globe before falling into decline during the Great Depression, which ultimately led to a merger with its chief rival, Cunard Line, which operated as Cunard White Star until 1950. Cunard Line then operated as a separate entity until 2005 and is now part of Carnival Corporation and Carnival Corporation PLC. As a last reminder of the White Star Line, modern Cunard ships use the term White Star Service to describe the level of customer care expected of the company, unquote. So here we see that the black one dropped dead because it was cursed under the word black, while the white one still survived. Are we that blind? What happened? The second question I ask you to ask yourself, what happened to the black, or rather to the Back to Africa movement? The third question, what happened to the Universal Negro Improvement Association? And just for your information, the word Negro and the word black is the same. 4, what happened to the Universal Printing House Negro Factories Corporation? 5, what happened to the highly successful Negro World Weekly newspaper? 6, what happened to the Black Panthers? 7, what happened to Black Wall Street? Just to name a few. And how many so-called black-owned companies that are called black, something that you know or can name, that are multi-billion-dollar companies that are trading on Wall Street or elsewhere in the world today? Can you name any? I will take the liberty by saying if there is any, then obviously they are not too many. So why would you want to call your company black? This leads me now to question number 8. What if you still continue to call ourselves the GBF, even after the global black family, even after you're made aware of this truth? From my perspective, that is like you building a sandcastle on the beach, where as soon as you think that you are about to finish, the waves just come and wash it away. If at all you intend for your house to stand, experience and wisdom will affirm that you should and that you must endeavor to build it on a solid foundation. And the solid foundation here, in this case, is truth. If you find that you are building your foundation with flawed and inferior material, or if a senior engineer or even a layman or a laywoman builder can point out to you and also prove to you that you are not building on solid ground and that the material that you are using to build your foundation is corrupt and inferior, and you neglect to heed the warning, then the evidence will show that not only are you unwise and is putting your own life in danger, but also because of your negligence to heed to correction, you will be putting many other people's lives, including those who trust and believe in you and believe in your judgment, your loved ones and families' lives in great danger as well. Because in time, the strength and durability of your foundation will be tested. And if found wanting, it will be destroyed. It will go down. Now, for the record, I will that you all listeners, and especially all you that are ardent devotees and members of the global black family, understand, and overstand that the message I brought to you was not and is not of I, the Mystic Philosopher, but that of our most honorable ancestors. I am just being used as a messenger at this time to channel it to you. For greater will come after me, who will also bring more messages and with much more clarity. This is not my language. I can hardly pronounce some of the words, and I hate the language, to be honest. For it is our honorable ancestors who choose who they will use and for how long they will use us. Secondly, I was sent here, and I was not sent here, and I'm not sent here to con you, to convert you, or to convince you about anything. For the fact is that some of you, but definitely not all of you, are truly black, and is destined to remain black. And there is nothing that I or anyone can do about it. I am not a con. For according to the late Benjamin Franklin, and I quote, a man or a woman that is convinced against his or her will is of the same opinion still. So I know if I con you, you will remain in the same position. You see, a con, be they man or woman, will come to you with sweet talk, convincing and complimentary words, among many other mesmerizing but devious techniques that will impress you, spellbind you, in order to convince you, and then to convert you. But what I'm sent here to do is to have you all reactivate and use your own latent, your own natural and genealogical inherited intelligence and think and evaluate things for yourselves. And you should not be afraid or timid to challenge any one of us that claim we brings ideas that does not, or that brings ideas that does not resonate with the core of your basic intelligence, or ideas that does not logically make sense. In other words, our ancestors are saying to us and reminding us all of the dangers we faced if or when we suspend our ability to question and to reason independently and for ourselves. The easiest thing to do in life, my beloved brothers and sisters, is to believe and become a believer. And the next easiest thing to do, once you believe and become a believer, is to follow and become a follower. And the reason for this is that it takes zero effort to believe or zero effort to become a believer. It takes zero effort to follow and zero effort to be a follower. It takes absolutely zero energy to believe and to follow. very little or no mental ability is required. And why? Because those the believer follow do all the thinking and decision making for them, which could be good, but it also could be very dangerous as well. And the very sad thing is that you would never know what is being done for you or done to you, because you are not the one that is thinking. It is others that are thinking, or others that think and know for you. The evidence will show, and the evidence has shown, that believers and followers are the laziest people on the planet Earth. The fact is that our source, via our most honorable ancestors, do not give us a brain, or did not give us a brain consisting of over 100 billion cells, a mind and faculty for our independent thinking, reasoning, and decision making. They did not give it to us for us to just sit idle and have others do all the thinking and decision making for us, while our unused brain seized up and die. We must stop believing, and independently we must start seeking to know for ourselves. And that takes effort, and that takes work, that takes moving from the step of believing to the step of knowing. In fact, the Adamic Race History and Holy Book, aka the Christian Holy Bible, say that we should prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. And how do we do that? It is by questioning authority and tearing apart ideologies. For that which is true needs no defense, and that which is true will stand any test, even the test of time. In fact, this that I'm about to say is for public disclosure. And it is that one of the only good things that has happened, or that has ever happened to me in church, and the greatest lesson that I could honestly say, or that I can honestly say I got out of my time going to church and my time spent in church, is this very verse of scripture. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 21, it said, prove all things and hold fast that which is good. And that also means individuals should prove all things and hold fast that which is good. This is not a group thinking. When my landlord, let me give you a story here. When my landlord converted me, ages ago, when my landlord converted me and took me to meet the leaderess of the assembly, and the first thing that she did after welcoming me was to give me a Bible. And the mistake that I now think that she made, which turned out to be my beefsteak, figuratively speaking, of course, was to open the Bible and point to this scripture. And from that moment, yes, she opened it and pointed to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. Prove all things and hold fast to that which is good. And from that moment on, all I wanted to do was not just to believe, but to prove all things and hold on to that which is good, or that which makes rational sense. And it didn't take long for me to see and realize that a lot of things they were saying, a lot of things they believe or they were believing in and doing, did not make logical and rational sense. And in my mind, there was a conflict. And the more I read and search and research and began to ask the leaders questions, is the further away from the church and religions in general I got. Then they started to accuse me of being too intelligent and that I want to know too much. And when I asked the leaders more questions, that they simply could not answer. They told me that where the Bible is silent, they too are silent. And that what I needed in order to understand these deep spiritual things and questions that I was asking and I was inquiring about was to be filled with the Holy Ghost, which got me scared. At one time, the church even tried to save me by have me fast and pray with them a whole Wednesday from sunset to sundown for the ghost. But for whatever reason, in fact, I think I know why, it just wouldn't come to me. I guess it knows that under no circumstances would I let a ghost into me. So it is as a result of this scripture why I am here talking to you today. I did not only read and recite it like my former brethren, and as we all did every Sabbath morning, but I literally practice it. In fact, I personally called it my spiritual scientific method. So I was sent here the first time to bring you a profound truth, one that not even an oracle can deny. And I am sent here a second time to reason with you and not to talk to you, let alone talk down to you. And in the process of reasoning with you again, set the record straight and encourage you to prove all things and hold fast to only that which is good. This now leads me to question 9. What should you call yourselves if not the global black family? For your information, my brother Kojo, and all you sincere truth seekers, the information that I got from my most honorable ancestors to share with you and yours as regards to this topic is that all this that is happening is even bigger than you. It is far bigger than any one of us and anyone that may be afforded the privilege and opportunity to speak on this platform. For your information, it is not the LanceScurv Show. And for all intents and purposes, it is not a show. And I must regretfully inform all those to whom it may concern that it is not no global black family either. And neither is it the global Be More family, and nor is it the global melaninated family, etc., etc. I am here to remind you that our most honorable ancestors have already given you guys the name, and that you are not using it frequently enough, and that you guys should start using it so that all our people will start logging into what is happening and knowing exactly what is happening. What is happening, and the name of what is happening is the road to restoration. This is very powerful. This is what my brothers and co for years have been saying and referring to. And most of us could not even understand that this is an ancestral calling. This is a movement as in, not physical movement, but movement as in spiritual and mental activity. Move, activity, mental, mind, activity. People are being awakened and they are seeking to be on the road to restoration. So what does that mean? I am sure you already know, but just let me remind you. It is called the road to restoration because we, the offspring and ascendants of the direct victims of the black Caucasians transatlantic slave trade and the black Arabs slave trade, are in restoration mode. Our ancestors are calling out to us for us to wake up and to be restored. Now please bear in mind at all times that the road to restoration does not mean that you or that we have already been restored. Also, the road to restoration is not the destination, but that it is only the highway that is taking us to our destination, which is complete restoration. The road to restoration means redemption from the curse of the Belak spell. From black, for black or Negro are not good names. The road to restoration also means the process of restoring our truths. For once you are on the road to restoration, all truths will come. And there you will be able to recognize truth. And the truth that you seek for your restoration. The road to restoration means the restoration of our power, of our mental power, restoration of our physical power, our spiritual power, and otherwise. The road to restoration is the process of restoring our most honorable ancestors' names, our ancestral languages, our cultures and traditions. The road to restoration means the process of restoring our knowledge of self, knowledge of our enemies, knowledge of who and what we are. It's to restore our dignity, our gods, our ancestral veneration, restore our love and respect for each other. You name them. And we must restore them. And they will be restored on the road to restoration. Above all, the road to restoration is not a business venture. The road to restoration is not a business enterprise or a business cooperation. The fact is that we are not yet restored. Some of us are only on the road to restoration. We have been blackballed, black-carded, blacklisted, black-booked, black history, blackened, and black everything for so long that some of us having been awakened and start seeing a little light are again being deceived into believing that they have arrived. So please, let us not get too hearty or overly confident, because just like the story in the Bible where Pharaoh would not let the people called Israel go, the story I said, so too our modern day Pharaoh don't want to let us go. They hate us. But in as much as some of them might try to pretend, the fact is they don't want to see us go. They don't want to see us give them back their curses and restore our names and to be restored. For when we become fully restored, what will happen to them? They are like parasites, and if the host is not there, what happens to the parasite? It dies. And who will they have to kill to make sacrifices to their gods? Who will they have to gun down? So for those of us that are on the road to restoration, please be prepared to get rid of all junks and junkies. Question number 10. Why did I say that black people should not associate themselves with the word Belak? And for the record, I, the Mystic Philosopher, did not say that black people should not associate themselves with the word black. Not at all. I, the Mystic Philosopher, a messenger of my most honorable ancestors, and of sound mind, and of an activated common sense, would not make such a ignoramus proclamation. No one can honestly or sensibly quote me making such thoughtless statements. And I hereby express much sympathy to anyone that may have listened to any of my presentations here on the LanceScurv, on the Road to Restoration show, or the Road to Restoration, aka the LanceScurv Show, or on my YouTube channel, or my blog, or any of my writings, my songs, my semi-dub poetries, or any of my lectures or talks that I have given elsewhere, etc. And left thinking, left interpreting and believing that I said they should not associate, black should not associate themselves with the word black. I said no such thing. And I sympathize for those who interpret that from anything they hear I may say. As pertaining to this topic and my knowledge of it, that is too far out of character for me even to make such an outrageous mistake. So please let me also straighten that out here, and for all the world to hear. The undisputable fact is that there are black people in the world. The undisputable fact is that there are black people, and some very black people, I might add, that are among us, the Earth's organic humans. Among us, the Earth's highly melaninated humans. The undisputable fact is that there are people that are told that they are black, and because they fear those that tell them that they are black, and because they never question whether or not they are black, and consequently they end up believing that they are black. The undisputable fact is that there are people among us, melaninated humans, that don't know what it means to be black. Don't know what it is to be labeled black, to be listed black, to be carded black, to be called and named black people, and the black race of people, etc. The undisputable fact is that there are people from among us, the Earth's organic humans, people from among us, the Earth's highly melaninated humans, that believe that they are black, and those that are deceived into believing that they are black. The undisputable fact is that there are people from among us, the Earth's organic humans, the Earth's highly melaninated humans, that have become black, very black I might add. The undisputable fact is that there are people among us, the Earth's organic humans, the Earth's highly melaninated humans, that because of the curse of the B-lack spell, also known as ignorance, the B-lack of knowledge of who and what the English word mean, the English word black mean, and is defined as that are acting black and are becoming black. The undisputable fact is that there are people among us, the Earth's organic human, that do not know who and what are the real black people among us and upon the earth. The undisputable fact is that there are some of our people that believe that they are black. For all their lives, they believe that. And they are now being awakened from the hypnotic trance, from the curse of the B-lack spell, and are being enlightened and are seeking even more enlightenment while on the road to restoration, to the fact that they are not black, to the fact that their source and most honorable African ancestors were not and are not black, but are encountering black ones among them, and others that are still asleep under the curse, that are trying to put them back to sleep. And our most honorable ancestors are having none of it. This time, they will not stand by and let it happen. And so they sent me forward again on this program to set the record straight. And woe be unto those that try to stand in the way of my people, my people's redemption, and our ancestors' calling. The undisputable fact is that there are extremely deadly and dangerous black Caucasian and humankind among us and upon the earth. The undisputable fact is that there are some extremely deadly and dangerous black Arabs and humankind among us and upon the earth. The undisputable fact is that there are some extremely deadly and dangerous black Chinese, black Jews, black Indians, you name them. And they are here among us upon the earth. In fact, there are some extremely black people and humankind that with much anger and displeasure that are listening to I, the Mystic Philosopher, speak to the world right now, and wish that I was not permitted to be speaking on this topic, thereby burning spiritual ashes, spiritual fire on them, shining ashes light through them, and the rest is history. In fact, I burn ashes, spiritual fire on all black people. Final question. Question number 11. How do I mentally, intellectually, and spiritually subdue a white that tries to put me down because of their white status? That's a question I got. How do I mentally and intellectually and spiritually subdue a white that tries to put me down, white person that tries to put me down because of their white status? Unquote. For the record, let me again declare that there are no white people that are visible living on this, our planet and Mother Earth. And that the people that are called, named, labeled, listed, profile, etc. white, and all those that call themselves white are not in the least white. And that anyone that comes to you appearing as or telling you that they are white are consciously or either consciously or unconscious liars. And as I have said and implied in my first video and appearance on this program, The Road to Restoration, aka the LanceScurv Show, that unless we are completely under the curse and hypnotic trance of the Belak spell, and where we are totally engulfed in darkness or in blackness, or unless we are truly blind, meaning our physical sense of sight is significantly impaired, and unless our basic common sense is inactivated, then we cannot sensibly say that Caucasian and all the others that call themselves white, I might add, are a white people, a white race, or a white race of people. Not only is that an insult to our own intelligence, but it is also an insult to our most honorable African ancestors that paid the ultimate price for us to be here and for us to set the record straight. The physical evidence will show, and the physical evidence has shown that with the exception of maybe the sclera of their eyes, the enamel on their teeth, their white hoods or white clothes that some of them wear, that absolutely nothing else about them is white. If any of you, my melaninated brothers and sisters listening out there, doubt this fact, this undisputable fact, I might add, then the next time that you encounter a so-called white man or a so-called white woman, or also known as a Caucasian, etc., that is flaunting his or her fraudulent white status, also known as his or her fraudulent white privileges or white privilege, in an attempt at trying to put you down, trying to humiliate you, trying to let you feel that because of their pale skin complexion.
Bring it up, brother. You bring it up again, last 20 seconds.
Okay, let me back up. The physical evidence, is that much better?
Yes, 100% covered.
Okay.
Thank you.
The physical evidence will show, and the physical evidence has shown, that with the exception of maybe the sclera of their eyes, the enamel on their teeth, their white hoods or white clothes that some of them wear, that absolutely there is absolutely nothing else about them that is white. And if any of you, my melaninated brothers and sisters listening out there, doubt this fact, this undisputable fact, I might add, then the next time that you encounter a so-called white man or a so-called white woman, aka a Caucasian, etc., that is flaunting his or her fraudulent white status, aka his or her fraudulent white privilege, in an attempt at trying to put you down, trying to humiliate you, trying to let you feel that because of their pale skin complexion, or if you prefer, let me use the scientific terminology to describe them, that because of their melanin deficiency and skin complexion, and especially one that is evidently racist and one that is a disgusting bigot that is induced with the system's power and authority, whenever you encounter one of them displaying their fraudulent white status, their fraudulent white privilege, thereby perpetrating and perpetuating their false narrative and their lie, then just simply look him or her in the eyes and ask them to please tell you what about them that is white. And please explain to you how are they white. I can almost guarantee you that if they don't immediately shoot you or kill you or beat you unconscious in an attempt to continue covering up the fraud, then you will see them become like a chameleon. You will literally watch them with your own eyes go from pale to pinkish pale to reddish pink, etc., etc. But try as they may and change as they will, you will never see them turn white. And they can never turn white. This is the end. And I thank you for giving of your time to watching or listening all the way to the end. I look forward to answering all your written questions as best as I can. I am also looking forward with great anticipation to our meetup, a meeting of free and independent thinkers and liberated minds, an ancestral, aware, and revered melaninated humans. And as customary, I look forward to our respectful, healthy, and spiritually enlightened reasoning and discussion. Ashe, 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 I say. I am the Mystic Philosopher. Back to you, my brother.
Thank you so much, my brother, the Mystic Philosopher. It's been a wonderful, wonderful dialogue as usual. And I look forward to the responses. I look forward to dialogue. And I look forward to the next one, as there will be a next one when the ancestors instruct you to reach out, and I will be here as the servant that I am. I want to thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope that this dialogue has been as intellectually stimulating to you as it has been to me. And if you don't agree all the way, it's okay. But let's just disagree on an intellectual level. We can break it down and make ourselves better. And that's what our brother, the Mystic Philosopher, is here for. And I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. As always, my brother.
You're most welcome. Ashe.
Back your curse, Satan.
You know I'm not black.
You know I'm not black.
Nothing.
And nothing about you is white.